For rewriting equations and formulas, we're basically just using our algebra skills to rearrange the equation. So in number 1, 5x minus 7y equals 21. We need to solve for y. We need to get y by itself. Y is currently in this term, so we need to start by getting that term by itself. How do we get rid of the 5x in front of that term? Subtract 5x on both sides. So we have negative 7y equals, we cannot combine 21 and negative 5x, so we need to write 21 minus 5x or negative 5x plus 21. The order does not matter as long as the negative is in front of the 5x and 21 does not have a negative in front of it. For the second step, a lot of people divide both sides by 7 like this, which is great, except it's a little bit difficult to simplify the right side of that if the whole thing is over negative 7. So the better thing to do is to divide every term by negative 7. It's the same as dividing both sides by 7. Just divide everything by negative 7. This allows us to simplify the formula a little bit more. So negative 5 over negative 7. The negatives will cancel, and we have the fraction 5/7 x. 21 divided by negative 7 is negative 3. So our final equation is y equals 5/7 x minus 3. Then you would do part 2, substitute the given value of x into that equation. So y equals 5/7 times 1, which is 5/7, minus 3. You could take your calculator and actually do 5/7 minus 3, change it back to a fraction. However, the instructions don't say to write your answer as a simplified fraction. So if you wanted to do this in your calculator and leave your answer as a decimal, that would be appropriate because it doesn't tell you not to. All right, take a moment and try number 2. Get y by itself in number 2. Okay, we need to get y by itself, so we are going to add 24 to both sides. So we have negative x plus 24 equals 3y. Divide everything by 3. Negative x divided by 3. There's always a 1 in front of those x's, so that's negative 1/3 x. 24 divided by 3 is 8 equals y. If you want to rearrange that so that the y is on the left side, so it says y equals negative 1/3 x plus 8, that is totally fine. And then you would plug 9 in. We can skip that step, right? Do you feel like you're okay with that part of it? I do want to go through number 3 with you fairly quickly because it's just a little bit weird with this negative xy in there. We want to get the y term by itself. So we still want to get that term by itself first. We would subtract 3x on both sides. This is where it's highly encouraged, highly suggested that you divide every single term by the same thing instead of just dividing the left and the right by the same thing. If we divide everything by negative x, it's going to help us in simplifying this problem better. So you're trying to get y by itself, negative x is being multiplied, so we need to divide everything by negative x. That gives us y equals, in this first term, the negatives cancel, the x's also cancel, so you have just a 3. And then 8 divided by negative x, that negative can be placed anywhere. So you can write plus a negative 8 over x, or you can write minus 8 over x. Whether the negative is in front of the fraction or on the top or on the bottom doesn't matter, but leaving it on the bottom just isn't the most correct. It's not very mathematically pretty. For these formulas, you simply need to think about what is currently in the formula and how do you undo that. The other thing you need to think about is what you're actually solving for. So this says solve for r squared. That means our goal is to have r squared equal. We want r squared to be on a side by itself. First thing I would suggest we try to get rid of is the 1/3. Anyone have any ideas for how to get rid of 1/3? Multiply by 3. Is it going to let me erase? There we go. We're going to multiply both sides by 3. So we have 3v equals pi r squared h. We want to keep r squared. We want to get rid of pi and h. What currently is happening between the pi, the r squared, and the h? What operation? And how do you undo multiplication? So we divide by pi and h. You can divide by both of them at the same time. That cancels out pi, cancels out h. We have 3v over pi h equals r squared. All right, let's move over to number 6. Area of a trapezoid. We want to solve for B1. We want to get this B1 by itself. Because B1 is currently inside a set of parentheses, that means we have to get the entire set of parentheses completely by itself before we can get B1 by itself. Anyone have any ideas what we should do first? Multiply by 2. So we have 2a equals b1 plus b2 in parentheses times h. Okay, again, we need to get the parentheses by themselves. So how do we get rid of that times h? Divide by h. At this point, you can leave off the parentheses. The parentheses were important when we were multiplying things in front of and behind the parentheses. Parentheses are important if there's exponents on the parentheses. But once you've gotten rid of all that extra stuff, now the parentheses aren't necessary. So to get B1 by itself, how do we get rid of that B2? Subtract B2, subtract B2. Where do you put this thing? After the fraction. 2a over h minus b2 equals b1. That last example is kind of ridiculously easy. Are you okay with skipping it? All right. For your assignment, you need to go to the website. Do I have it up here? Yes, I do. tinyurl.com/bssdgilmore-a2. If I were you, I would get that linked, like bookmark link. I would link it in the browser that you usually use, but it would also be a good idea to bookmark it in the other browser as well. So if one of them is acting kind of screwy, you can always go to the other one. Find today's date, Monday, August 26th. The video that I'm recording right now will be linked underneath activities and resources. And over under assignment, A1.4 worksheet, that would be your assignment for today. So click that link. It should look like this.